right, 25 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. The world is changing for the better. I mean, I know we hear all the bad news always makes the news, but it seems like we have so many things that we're doing that are an improvement. You know, we're quitting smoking and we're figuring out how to live smarter. I think the younger generation, my son is part of this whole movement. He's 30 years old. He's working for an energy company. I think they sell gas. I'm not sure. I think it's natural gas, right? But they have more of a purpose than just simply the bottom line. It's interesting to pay attention to what they say. They have businesses, not that businesses never had a conscience, but I don't know that we were aware of a need for a conscience in the past. It was always about, making money and making sure that the stockholders and everybody was happy. Paul Ratoff is on the phone. He's got an interesting book. It's called Thriving in a Stakeholder World. If you're looking at the streaming video, you see the cover of the book. I got it off of Amazon. And it's got 5-star reviews. Looks like a great opportunity to learn a little bit about this, and especially right now because we have Paul on the phone. He's a certified management consultant, the president of Strategy Development Group. He told me he's out on the West Coast and he just woke up.
Yeah.
So,
That's right.
Good morning, Paul. How are you?
I'm great, Larry and Robin.
Where on the West Coast are you? You LA?
LA, that's right.
All right. Well, thank you for getting up early to speak to us today.
My pleasure.
Do you know, in the past, when somebody would say, do you want to invest in a corporation, we'd either say yes or no based on how much money it was making. Lately, I've been hearing people say, no, I don't want to invest in that. Why not? It's making a lot of money. Well, I heard that they've got investments in, and they'll name something that they don't support. And not to bring this to a political point, but everybody's got their own ethics and their own... You know what I mean? So a lot of times people are making decisions on what to invest in based on ethical values, if that makes sense. Is that kind of where this goes, this conversation?
Well, a little bit, but not as much as you might think.
Okay.
So if I'm going to invest in a company, I want a company that's going to be around for a long time, because the value of the company is really determined based on a long-term level of cash flow coming in through the company. So that's how the company gets valued based on sustainability. How long will that company be around? It's not just making money today, but will it make money down the road? Because that's where the value comes in. So if I'm going to invest in a company, I want to invest in a company that will last, that will be around. And that means a company that is highly engaged with its people, highly engaged with its customers, its supply chain, basically highly engaged with everybody and everything that impacts or is impacted by that organization, which I call a stakeholder world.
Okay, so do we learn skills from you in the book to help us identify those companies?
Well, no, because the book is not designed for investors, it's designed for leaders. So if you want to have a lasting company, then you need to have a lasting company that matters. You have to have a company that has some purpose that can inspire your stakeholder world to support you. Because an organization's survival is really a function of its relationship to all of the other organizations and companies and individuals that are interacting with that organization. That which I call its stakeholder world. And how do you get them excited about what you're up to?
And that also means community involvement from the company themselves.
Well, in the sense that every company is solving a problem. And if that problem is framed in a way that's meaningful and important to the local community, then the community wants that company to be successful because of the problem it's solving in the world. So an organization is really responsible for solving its problem, not for solving somebody else's problem, but solving the problem the organization has decided to take on.
Oh, okay.
Make a difference in the world.
So is that why when we read news that a company or corporation has a new CEO, we have to really pay attention and try to figure out if this person is going to make a difference in our favor or not?
Well, is the CEO focused on pursuing the purpose of the organization, the problem it's supposed to be solving in the world? That's what we want to know. If the CEO is concerned about one stakeholder group over another, like concerned about profits for shareholders, and not concerned about employees, not concerned about customers,
Okay.
not concerned about a supply chain, not concerned about solving the problem. It was organized, the reason the organization existed in the first place.
Okay, so if I don't, okay, I might think I know the purpose of a company. I might think, for example, the one in the news this morning is Snapchat, and I know I caught you off guard with that one off the air, but it's in the news.
Yeah.
And I don't know much about Snapchat, to be honest with you. But if I were to guess, I might not guess right. Whatever their stated purpose is, how do I find out what that is so that I'm not guessing?
Well, you really shouldn't have to. That's the problem. Organizations don't really communicate that very well. Sometimes they don't even know themselves. Now, every organization has to discover what their purpose is. It's not like you come up with this, let's come up with a purpose. It already exists. That was the reason the organization started in the first place. But people get so involved in the business itself in terms of what they do that they forget about why they're in business in the first place.
I got you. Okay.
And so it's like rediscovering what that is and then communicating with people. People should know what that is. I think everybody sort of knows what Apple's committed to, right? They're about doing great things, innovative things, changing the world in some way. I mean, everybody knows that because they communicate it.
Yeah. Well, they're in the communication company, in business. I mean, that's their job, is to help us communicate with each other. So it would only make sense that they figured out how to communicate with us.
That's true. Although, and originally, I mean, their product was a computer, right? They were in the beginning. They were really a computer company.
Yeah, right.
But I don't think they see themselves as that, and they never did. And over time, people realize that that's not who they are. That's what they did. And that's what they still do to some degree.
And then take Disney, for example. They, in the past decade, it seems like they've turned into more of an acquisition company instead of a creative force, because they're acquiring all these creative companies to, give films and music to the people. Like they, took over Pixar, they took over the Star Wars, things like that.
So that's a good strategy, Robin. That's one of the things that organizations can do, is they can acquire other organizations that are up to the same thing that they are. That's a way of expanding your reach and being more effective in fulfilling on your purpose. I think all of those acquisitions are probably aligned with what they were up to as an organization.
What their purpose was, and Robin's use of Disney, I would guess the purpose in a nutshell would be entertaining. Their purpose is to entertain, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess, there's probably, I'm sure they think of it a little differently than just entertainment. I think they try to transform people to another place and another world. And, I mean, for them, it's more of a spiritual expression.
Uh-huh.
I think it's a deeper thing, the way they look at it.
Okay. So
their contribution to the world.
Okay, so your answer to my question is interesting, and it's making me think. So, do we have to consider those things as an investor? Just sticking with Robin's example, Disney. I'm investing in Disney because I think they're in the business of entertainment. But if I had a better understanding of the bigger picture, maybe it would influence my investments.
Absolutely. It's so interesting. Our brain is divided into different parts, and there's the part of our brain that really is very reactive and built on how we feel about things, and that's the part of the brain that makes decisions. And then there's this other part of the brain which is sort of analytical and actually lives with language. So language doesn't exist in some parts of the brain where it's all about emotions.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the part that makes the decision. So you'd be amazed at how much of your decision is really based on how you feel, not what you think.
Really? So I'm wondering, as the people behind a corporation age and new people start moving in, I'm guessing that it ebbs and flows. The whole purpose must change over time. It's not the same. GE is not the same corporation as it was 50 years ago.
Yes, I think that's a good point. So there's two elements. There's why a company exists, its purpose, the difference it's making in the world, and then there's how it's going to do that and what it actually does. And those two parts are like its business model. In other words, they could be committed to the same thing, but one company could be making engines, another company could be making cars, another company could be providing staffing, but they could all be committed to the same thing. It's just a different business model. So in organizations, it's not uncommon for the business model to change over time. So GE may have been making some products to fulfill its purpose, and then find that those products have become obsolete, and there are now new products and services that they need to use to do and produce to fulfill on their purpose.
Oh my gosh.
So it's the business model that changes over time, but typically not the purpose.
And then you have the financial institutions where the physical building is there, like the banks. And like over the past 5 decades, I banked with a bank who has changed its name like 3 different times. But they seem to be, that doesn't seem to affect the account holders any.
No, but it might, Robin, affect your loyalty. You have to have some kind of relationship with that organization, and if you don't have it, then you'll move if it's convenient for you. There's nothing that's holding you there other than the fact that it might be down the block.
And
right.
and in a way, even though I was off target at the opening, that almost addresses that very same thing I started with, even though I was wrong. But I think if Robin's desire to align with the company because she believes in it, all of a sudden they're changing, or she has changed maybe. Mm-hmm. That seems to be it might play a role in what we invest in. Absolutely.
We have to. It has to affect us at a much deeper level. If we're going to start investing in stocks, most of us actually don't even do that. We just buy these funds, right?
Right.
But there are people that actually buy stocks, and when they do that, they look beyond just the bottom line. They're looking at really what the organization is committed to, and if they're committed to something that they can relate to, that resonates with them, then they'll see that that's powerful, and I can see how that company is going to be successful, and then that'll have a lot to do with the decision they make. They may come up with reasons for doing that, but ultimately, it's that gut feeling that has a big impact on the decisions they make.
Okay, the one thing I think I totally got wrong when I thought I knew what this book was about was thinking it was for me as an investor. It's for me as a businessman, isn't it? So that I can build my business to better reflect the mission statement.
Yes, you want a company that can harness the resources of your stakeholder world. You want a company that can get 110% from your people, from your supply chain.
Gotcha.
You want loyal customers.
Oh my gosh! Yeah,
You want everything that you want your environment, your stakeholder world to support your success. And how do you do that? That's the challenge. How do you do that? Well, if you can enroll them, if you can get them excited about what you're up to, then they'll join your crusade.
See now here I can boil this down to my level so that I understand it. If I go to a restaurant, I'm a stakeholder because I'm going to pay for that meal, and the waiter or the waitress is greatly going to influence how much I decide whether to come back or not, and he or she is also going to be controlled in some way by her management and the people behind the scenes, the people cooking, and all of those people together. I'm like the stakeholder in that restaurant at that moment, right? Because I'm going to put some money into their business by buying some of their food.
Yeah, but so is that employee. That employee is also a stakeholder.
Yeah,
and so is the manager of that employee, and so are the investors that maybe are supporting the owner that bought that bought that restaurant or organized that restaurant. So there are lots of all the suppliers that they're providing the food to make sure they get the good quality food that they need. So these are all stakeholders, right? And if they're committed to having you have a great experience, if that's the purpose of that restaurant, wouldn't it be great if that server was also committed to you having a great experience? That all of the suppliers that provided the food were also committed to having you have a great experience with the food that they provide. Now, if everybody's on the same page, they're all committed to the same thing, you will have that great experience.
Oh my gosh, I love this, and I'm so look. It's we're 20 minutes into it, or not even 15 minutes into it, and I think I'm grasping it now. And you know who I wish would use these same principles is elected officials.
Yeah.
Because
sure.
because if their stakeholders are us, the voters, they should be, working to make sure we understand their purpose or what their mission is.
That's right. What are they committed to? What difference are they going to make for their stakeholder world?
Yeah.
It would be great to know that.
Absolutely. You're getting some really rave reviews. I'm looking through the Amazon postings. You got 5 stars all over the place, and people just really getting it. And thank you for them because they're helping me. They helped me a little bit to understand it. The book is called "Thriving in a Stakeholder World." Paul Ratoff is the author and our guest right now. Purpose as the new competitive advantage. Purpose in big, bold, yellow letters, golden letters.
Well, you have to have that reciprocity there, I feel, though, between management and ownership and the salary and hourly employees, because everybody has to be allowed to have a voice in their particular field of expertise.
Absolutely, Robin. You can't. That's why you organize. You can't do it yourself. You need all of these people. You need a stakeholder world for your success. And whether they be internal stakeholders inside the organization, or external stakeholders, they all have to. You need them all. You can't do it by yourself. Otherwise, why would you organize?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Do it yourself.
Exactly.
I heard one time somebody said that Amtrak, their purpose was to provide train service, and somebody said they would be better off if they changed their purpose to being a transportation company rather than just a train company. And that might be a little simplistic, I don't know, but I applied that to what we do, and I said I don't think our purpose as a radio broadcasting company is to simply give out information. I think our purpose is to be there. And when we learned this? We learned this during one of the hurricanes. We were one of the only stations up. The power had been knocked out for most people, and they were using their battery-powered radios. And Robin and I had very little information about the hurricane because we had no communications with the outside stuff. But what we did was we just talked. And people called up later on and said, you know what, that was the most comforting thing because we didn't know what was going on. And to hear you two just talking, all of a sudden we realized our purpose isn't just about information. It's about being a friend in this market.
Yeah, that's right. So you'll know when your purpose is the right purpose when you ask your stakeholders. Because at the end of the day, you want a purpose, or you want to be able to at least frame that purpose in a way that your stakeholders find it meaningful and important to them. And when you can do that, then you have a common purpose that will help build your business and be the pathway to harnessing the resources of your stakeholder world.
Okay, so let's say the CEO of a corporation, they're all sitting around, the board is having a meeting, and they're all sitting around, and he's purchased a copy of your book and told everybody, I want you to read this and come back in a week and let's talk about it. So a week later, they're talking about it. How do you convince those who are saying our purpose is to make money? How do you convince them that it's more than that?
Well, I think having a purpose that's meaningful and important, they once you buy into the concept that purpose is the driver, it's the thing that kind of binds the company and makes you successful, then it's a question of framing a purpose that's meaningful and important to your stakeholder world. And if you think making money is meaningful and important to your stakeholder world, then maybe that's your purpose. If your employees are really inspired and they get excited about the fact that they are making money for you, great. If your customers are really excited and inspired about you making money for yourself, great. That's the test. That's the bottom line. So it just doesn't seem to me that there are going to be many organizations that can come up with a purpose about making money for them as meaningful and important to their stakeholder world. So it has no power.
But social media has a huge impact on the way that people view and perceive businesses, because you can have employees that are like on Facebook, for example, and they have one kind of personality and they'll use swear words and things like that to express themselves. But at the same time, they're representing the company that they're working for, and that's going to be detrimental to the company they're working for, I feel.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, because you one of the key features here is in purposeful behavior is your relationship to your stakeholder world. So you can't do harm. If you do harm to your stakeholder world, it only affects you in the end. Mm-hmm. So it's very important to think in terms of all of these stakeholders. They're on your team. You want their support, and that's not going to get it. And you're talking about the Uber situation in the news the other day.
Uh-huh.
And that's exactly what happened. He ended up apologizing.
Oh, that's right. Yes, we had that story. In fact, that was just. I think I had that. Was it yesterday or this morning? Yeah. I know. And what I thought from that particular story was he's young, and I think being young sometimes you're watching somebody learning the ropes of his own business is what I think we saw there. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
And I think it was great that he apologized and realized that what he did was immature, and he'll learn from it, and hopefully he will, and hopefully he means that.
The book will probably help other people learn this without. In other words, instead of making the mistakes as a way to learn from somebody who's done this for a while. Paul, you've hit it out of the park. I love what this book is about. It's called Thriving in a Stakeholder World: Purpose as the New Competitive Advantage. It now makes all the sense in the world to me. If you were listening at the beginning and you just tuned in, you probably heard that I finally figured it out. I found it on Amazon. It's got 5-star reviews, which is a great way to start. What is another way that you would recommend to get the book, or do you have a website you would recommend?
You can always go to my website, which is ratoffconsulting.com, and then you can click on the book there, and that'll take you back to Amazon.
Okay,
Nice.
so your company's Ratoff Consulting, Ratoff, by the way. So is that what you do? I mean, you sit with companies and you basically tell them what this book is trying to tell us?
My business is building lasting companies that matter through purposeful behavior. So I use this style of management to help companies be more successful. And I am a financial and strategic management consultant. That's my background. I'm a finance guy. So when I look at this, to me, it's all about making companies more successful. And it's in their self-interest to take on this type of management style.
All right, so here's the curveball, and this is kind of going off topic a little. Now that I realize what we're talking about, this is really not exactly on topic. But before we went on the air, I asked him about the Snapchat story, and the end of the story. This is on USA Today's website, by the way. They're talking about investing in Snapchat. They're selling it for $17 a share. And I guess they start selling it today.
Going public.
And it says, should a small investor buy Snap on its first day of trading? Financial advisors warn investors should put only as much money into Snap as they would be comfortable seeing disappear. So you need to get in there and help them so their money doesn't disappear.
Well, it's like going to the races. If you like going to the races, you better enjoy the experience, because that's what you're investing in, is the experience. Otherwise, buy an index fund.
There you go.
For those who have benefited from this, please share the video with others. We put these videos up on YouTube and what do you call it, Facebook by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and so this one will be there, and the whole video I have either the picture of your book or the picture of yourself, Paul, that I got off of Facebook. I mean off of Amazon. Thank you for what you're doing, for getting up early, and for writing this book. I think we'll all benefit from it.
Thank you so much. It was a real pleasure.
All right, we will take a little break. We'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. On this Thursday, we'll see clouds and a limited sun. Look for a shower or thunderstorm this afternoon with highs in the upper 70s.